Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the How To series from Canopy community. It's always a pleasure to be here every month with a very special guest, talking for a specific subject with someone that is knowledgeable on the field. And today I have the great pleasure to have here with me Fernando Batista from Diretor, a fellow member from Tribe, Canopy. Fernando, first of all, thank you so much for being available to have this conversation today and to share your wisdom with our community. For those who don't know you, which I'm sure it's a very small amount of people, who is Fernando and what is Diretor?
Let me ask, who is Fernando this way? Where is he? No, I'm Fernando. As you said, I'm the founder and the executive director of the public relations agency, Diretor. And I have a long work done during the last 25 years in public relations with IT companies and with the startup ecosystem. And I think that's why you and Stuart asked me or invited me to be here. I hope so, if it is from that.
Definitely it is. So Fernando, communication, we all know communication is a major driver on any business success. And of course, it's not an exception for startups. Being a founder and especially being the first time founder, when is the founding moment where someone should start considering communication broadly, or more specifically, starting engaging on a conversation with guys like Fernando?
Well, let's start by the beginning, as always. That is, when you think about founding something, you need to have the gut, the feeling, and the will. And that is the most important one from the three. The will of doing something different or doing something that's going to benefit not only yourself, but also the community. If you don't have it, for sure, it's not the money that will make you not be successful, but it's the lack of will for doing it. And that happens also with the public relations side. You never can say that there is a right moment to use it and to do it, because it has to do with the area that you are, with the type of solution or product that you wanted to develop, and how you want to approach the market to be considered a player to be listened. Let's see it this way. You can have a startup that is so innovative and is getting into an area that no one knows and is so prospecting the will of the market that you should do it from the ideation moment. You should be already creating some activities and creating some interest among media and among stakeholders to be seen and to be heard about your theme. Because sometimes it is even before the ideation stage. Although when we look to the common startup, you should start thinking on public relations on the MVP moment. Why? Why that? Because if you want to do MVP, you want to test something. And to test something, you need to create a community that you will aggregate to your work and that you want to retain from them some information of what is your idea, if it makes sense or not, and if people want or are interested in use your solution or your product or not. So sometimes public relations can be used as a prospecting tool. Sometimes can be used as a consideration and a proof of ideation. And so with this, we need to always look at our goals as startup founders and look at and say what I want in every single moment of and every single stage of the company. Because there are a lot of startups that were succeeded, and they just started to having a PR work and activity after 2, 3, 4 rounds of VCs. So Is it wrong to do it on that moment? No, it was because of the environment they were. But if you ask me, what will be a proper moment to do it? Most of the times is on the MVP stage.
Okay, so what do I need to start engaging in a conversation with a PR agency? What are my basic needs I should bring with me?
Well, I will say that you need to have my phone number, but no, this is just fun. Please, to those ones that are listening, you need to understand that I'm also a guy that's always joking. That's why this joke, and I know Pedro for a long time and he knows what I mean with this. No, first of all, you need to have correctly defined your goals. And I'm not talking about the goals of communication, but the business goals. Because PR is one of the tools that marketing has to approach the market and to create goodwill and awareness for our brands. So first of all, you need to have your goals quite well defined. And after that, you should do a briefing where you need to define what you are, why you exist, and for what you want to work and for who you want to work. Because with this, we have the stakeholders, we have your mission, your values, and you know what is your need on the mid and long term. Please never do short-term PR, because that is the same thing that when you give sugar to kids. You give sugar to kids and they're going to stay awake almost all night. But by the moment the sugar finish, what happens? They fell asleep and you stay with the kid for 10 hours sleeping and you can't do anything with them. So that's not the way. What we need to think is PR, it's a mid-long-term relation that needs to be worked. So after having this, you have the main things that you need to have on a briefing to reach out a PR agency and say, hey guys, I have a challenge for you. You should never come with a problem. You should always bring a challenge, because if you want to have the best of the best working with you, bring them challenges, not problems. And you'll find out when you do that there are a few great PR agencies in the market, not only in Portugal, but also in the UK and worldwide. And you can find them more keen to work with you. And you need to look at it at the PR agency, and you need to get from the first moment empathy with them. Because if you have the empathy, you know that you will have a team that will support you on the good and on the bad times.
Okay. I have a series of questions for you that I'd like to chip in on the sequence. So first of all, how do you see today, how does other media look today to the startup ecosystem? Have been any changes recently? I don't want to rig the question.
Well, that's a great question. And the most interesting of that question is what happened in the last 2 years to the ecosystem. And honestly, the ecosystem almost seemed that disappeared, but no. What happened was the startups left the media spectrum, and that made them to be seen as ghosts. So only working on digital communication, it's not enough. That's why PR is so important, to create these media relations that will bring again the startup ecosystem alive. And I'm not talking about the Portuguese ecosystem, but worldwide this happened with the pandemics. And what we've seen in the last 5-6 months is recovery of the best managed startups. And I need to say it this way: why the best managed startups? to be best managed is having the gut and feel to see when the market will going to reopen. Also, the management adds the wise wisdom to look at the market during the pandemics and reduce as much as they could the costs, the fixed costs, in ways they could survive. And in the end of the critical moment, still having money and pocket money to invest. And it's important to have pocket money to invest, not investors' money. What I wanted to say with the pocket money is you created a startup that started to bring money, and before looking to investors, you started creating a way that your company could bring and develop money and create money and value for itself to support all the growth that needed. And that is what we're seeing now. The best ones are doing that. And that's why at this moment we are again seeing huge rounds of investments and huge with large amounts of money being paid to the best of the best. And this happened due to this good management of some of the startups. And those ones, now they know that they need to invest on communication again. And if you look at 10 years ago or 20 years ago, when we were on the university, one of the things that we'll see is we need to be very keen with our management, but also to communicate. We need to communicate for not dying or for not disappearing. And that was the goal that happened at that time with the major companies. What we've seen in the last 15 years was those classic companies, industrial companies, disappeared from the major rankings because they remain with that focus. Talk just for talk, doing just chit-chat. That is not enough. The companies and the startups have something that the other ones don't. Even if it's a commodity, you are always working on innovation. And when you are an innovative team, you need to communicate in an innovative way. So this means that you're not going to chit-chat. And when you bring something to the table, you will bring something that the media will like to listen and to think. And at this moment, the market is needed of people that think and people that make the others think. And that is the good thing that we can see in the ecosystem of the startups ecosystem is we have a lot of people that knows how to think and make people think wisely. And that is the main challenge. Look at what the others are doing, not copying it, but make it better.
All right. So we've been talking a lot about PR, and PR. PR this and PR that, but I'm not sure that everyone knows exactly what PR is. So in simple terms for laymen, how would you describe or define PR?
Well, PR is the armed force of marketing to create goodwill to a brand. This is the classic academic thing that we can use. This is the sentence. But what it really means, and your question is quite interesting, Pedro, because PR, it's a group of tactics and activities that will work on communicate what we are doing. It can be by launching or distributing a press release, by pitching that information and trying to get an interview with a key journalist or a key media title. It's creating and developing opinion articles to be promoted among the media to see who wants to publish, and with this working on a thought leadership campaign for the founders. It is creating media clubs where journalists have privileged information in terms of the area and the themes that are being worked by the startups. It's creating media tours to support in parallel the media roundups that are being held by the startups. It's creating activities that will create noise around the brand. This means that when we're pitching or when we are doing a demo night, it can be seen by three ways: testing our capability of pitching and ability to understand if our product or our solution is being perceived correctly by the market. So we are MVPing it. It can be a very interesting commercial tool that we are pitching to see if there's someone that wants to buy our solution or wants to invest in our solution. But at the same time, it's a PR stunt where you can develop all the communication skills that you have it and all the soft skills that you have it to make people be attracted to your brand. Let me use someone that is a huge mentor, widely a huge mentor for startups, Sir Richard Branson. Everything that we see from Sir Richard Branson is PR stunts. No one talks about the things that he does on his daily basis. What everyone says is all the creations that he made for the aerospatial activity. Everyone talks about Virgin Atlantic. Everyone talks about the Virgin stores. Everyone talks about the Virgin drinks. But is there anyone that believes that the bet that he made with the Singapore Airlines CEO was just a bet among friends? If so, forget it. That was a PR stunt. That was well-defined, well-studied, and quite well designed to make him lose, to be dressed as a stewardess in a plane in one of the major Asiatic companies to bring Virgin to the Asian market. That's a PR stunt. That is public relations working nicely and perfectly. We can do the same. Even if we are a small startup at the beginning, there are so many things that we can do. Imagine a very simple thing. We can create a media kit that is a box with information of the company and with a goodie and with something that is correlated with our area of activity, with our main values and our mission, and in a way that we can tell a story of who we are, why we are here, and how we want to develop and to support the community. This is really, really important. First of all, and bringing the concept of Simon Sinek, the golden circle, always focus on the why, then how to talk about the what. The what is not interesting for anyone. That was for the industrial era. For those companies, yes, that was important. Nowadays, it doesn't matter because people work and wants to connect with brands that help them or allow them to have an immersive experience, even if it's an industrial startup.
All right. So I was listening to you and I was thinking, well, if we get noticed and relevant reporters or relevant media talk about me by their own hands, not just reprinting our press release, but even if they did just that, in some way this can be seen as a huge help or added value for inbound marketing, SEO, increase the relevance for algorithms. So it's always a smart move, right?
Well, in inbound marketing, it's a digital arm of marketing as PR. As you know, I also give classes in some universities and on digital marketing. And one of the things that I always say is, hey guys, don't think that digital marketing is the key. It's a part of the solution. And inbound marketing is a strategy inside of digital marketing tools that we can use it. And when we think about inbound marketing, what we are doing, when we're looking at it is, first of all, where we wanted to work at the funnel with inbound marketing. First of all, we want to work on the top of the funnel. To do that, what you're doing is you're trying to create awareness, digital awareness for your theme or for your brand. So you're going to work on what? In problems that your brand can solve. So PR, you also can do that with, in a creative way, with media. The main issue is PR is focused on working with the gatekeepers, the journalists and the media, where we give them space to listen to us, think accordingly with their editorial line, and write about us with their vision. So it doesn't matter if they are saying, if we say something and they don't understand at first time, and for them it's something completely opposite of what we said. That's perfect. You know why? Because this way you have a very short and very specialized universe that can help you MVPing immediately your solution. Because if a journalist doesn't understand, the market will not understand. While when you're working with inbound marketing strategies, you're pushing even more to a broader audience. And of course, when you are working with a broader audience, you always get someone that understands you. But in between, there are a lot of people that won't understand you and are going to oppose to your brand. So this is also a cool thing to do. A media gathering and say, hey guys, we have this. This is it's finished the ideation. We want to go to an MVP, but I wanted to listen to you and get your feeling about it. And when we do this, the media, first of all, are going to listen to us. They're going to appreciate that you asked for their comment. And third of all, they're going to start writing about you, and they want to look of what will be your history, and they're going to go with you among all the company activity. That's perfect. While the inbound marketing, it can push for the top of the funnel, or then you need to work on the bottom to make those ones, the small part that understood, to come again and buy again. So this is a good way of aligning communication and aligning our messaging that you can then use on inbound marketing to support and get a broader audience that will understand you better than just launching to see how it goes.
Okay, so now there are a series of questions. I'm trying to organize them. Let's start by this one. Usually there's a friction between the commercial team and the technical editors within a media, news magazine, or TV channel, whatever. How does that impact on your work?
Well, first of all, it always has to do with ethics. Everything resumes to ethics. I can go to an editor or to a director and say, hey guys, I have the history that you don't want to miss it. And if they say, well, okay, you think so, but it's not aligned with us and with our agenda and our agenda setting at this moment. Should I stay worried about it? No. I need to see if I used the right angle, first of all. And then if it wasn't the right angle, I need to find out the right angle to go there again and say, and what about now? You know the donkey from Shrek during the travel that was always asking, are we there yet? Imagine, I'm going to say something that is terrible, and excuse me, all the PR people that might listen to this. PR people are almost like the donkeys from Shrek, but instead of asking, are we there yet, is how it goes now. Is it okay for you now? And we need to find out a new approach. And what about now? And just stop it, or when it's published, or when we see, well, all the approaches were done and it really doesn't make sense for this media. But in between, you're not just working with a media title, you are working with other media titles. And those approaches that you created, if you couldn't make it in one media title, probably will fit and work on another media title. I'm going to give you a experience that we had last week. Yeah, last week in an event. We had in an event a group of journalists that were completely different in terms of media titles and areas. So we had economics, we had IT, we had a lifestyle, we had a social journalist, and the client was the same. The theme was the same. And you're going to say, what the heck are you going to make it, all of them writing, and how you made it come? First of all, I said, I'm going to create an experience for you with this brand. And that's what we made. We created an experience with the brand that could interest to the journalists. And then we said, by the way, during the experience, you're going to prove our product. And you're going to test it. And you're going to say what you think. And please, before writing, tell us, just for us to understand and see if it fits on the Portuguese market. You know what? All of them wrote. We created completely different approaches for each area. And the most interesting and the most funny thing was all of them wrote almost the same title. Even being from economics to social and lifestyle. All of them look at it and said, hey, these guys brought us here. They created an event for us where we gathered, we spoke about completely different things, but at the same time, we understood the product and it makes sense, the product. And the message was there. Because when you have a quite well-defined message, and I want to push again the quite well, because we always say, oh, the right message. No, forget it. The right message is not correct message because you also have the left message. So the quite well defined message is the one that it's bulletproof. Come, whoever comes, they will understand what you're talking about. And you can bring them different scopes, you can bring different approaches, and in the end, they're going to understand, okay, for my public, it's more important to have these features, and I'm completely focused on the features. The other one will say, for my public, what is interesting is this product can be a game changer. So I'm going to talk about the game changing of this product in this market. For others, this is a very utility. It's a great utility. So I'm going to use it as an utility. And we're talking about the same product with different approaches. And in the end, they're going to bring you the message. That is the scientific art of PR.
Okay, I think I got the message. I know there are no two equal companies, of course, but what are the most frequent services provided by PR agencies?
Yeah, so the most common services are media relations that bring a list of activities such as creating or developing press releases that are then broadcasted to media, pitch to those medias, a constant pitch about the themes that we are that are interesting for our clients. It's interviews, pitching for interviews, byline articles, and at this moment, with the digital communication getting so much attraction, also social media activities are already being included on PR, because we need to focus on monetization and find out if there's any type of any opportunity of bringing the conversation to the market. Give you a simple example, and doesn't have anything to do with startups. We have in our company, we have in our agency, we have a restaurant that is our client. And a few weeks ago, one radio started to talk about how to eat chicken. How should we eat chicken? With our hands or with knife and fork? We started listening to that, and everyone was making fun of it. And we, at the agency, we monitored during a large part of the day the tracking that was that conversation had at social media. When we understood that the track was really large, we called the client and said, "Hey, can you send tomorrow at 8 p.m. a large chicken to this radio?" The client was like, "Why?" They are sponsored by another company that also has chickens. And we said, "Forget them. They will not going to send them a roast chicken. You're going to send it. And we're going to write down a small text that will go with the chicken. And you're going to make it fun of it. Doesn't matter if you eat with your hands or with knife and fork. What is important is you eat the right chicken and the good chicken. So let's make all the radio team eat chicken at 8 a.m. This was the message. We didn't say anything else. At 8 p.m., we had the delivery boy there. At 8:05, the radio animators stopped the program and said, "Hey, we have chicken for breakfast." And they spoke during all morning about the chicken and all the other products that we sent. This is a PR stunt, and this is the things that we can create when we looked also for the social media activity. So these are the main ones. Media relations, where we have a lot of things in it, like the interviews, the press releases, the media tours, etc. Events also. The work on events, monitoring and working on community management and social media, and also quite important for any company, not only startups, crisis communication. That is really important. And most of the companies don't think about it. But when we are on a digital world, crisis happens every single moment. And it's very important and demanding that the company has crisis communication support and the crisis communication plan beforehand prepared and aligned to any kind of situation that can happen. These are the major ones.
Right. And tell me one thing. Do you think that the proper communication could have, for example, a company enhance the differentiation that it has from competitors in some areas where it's not that simple to achieve? Or is just a matter of me becoming more and more visible and therefore gaining some sort of advantage?
Again, it has to do with the era that we are. Sometimes I feel like I feel that my answers are a little bit philosophical, but it has always a meaning. Sorry, Pedro. That is why I wanted to say this is when we look to the industrial post era that we lived until 3 years ago, the focus was on creating authority in any way. Since we become on the digital era that came 100% with the COVID, with the pandemics, we started living, thinking, and working as digital thinkers, everything changed. It wasn't just to be someone that is known, but better than that, someone that is renowned. So what is important is the relevance of what you do and what you say. And this is a game changer, because when you see large startups where the founders don't speak and they just speak in very specific moments, they are saying, we just have relevant things to talk in these moments. So we just talk the strategic things. The rest, my team does. And that is a very wise and clever way of working and to think in terms of PR. That is, you should look at not what is the trend, but what it's meaningful. For a long time, meaningful was appear, showing up. So that was trying to create the sense that you are everywhere. Nowadays, the focus is be on the right moment with the right speech and with the meaningful act. The market and people they are sick and tired of people that just talk. If you don't have something to show, it's better not talk. So you are simply an academic, or even worse, you are just someone that didn't understood, that doesn't have anything to say, and just want to be a parrot. No one wants to be a parrot.
At least they shouldn't.
Yeah.
I know that part of what you do is media training.
Also.
So for those who don't know, it's helping you know how to interact with journalists, reporters, whatever. And it's quite demanding, by the way, by personal experience. But I think this has a complex starting point, which is the personality of the trainee. And some people are shy, some people are more joyful, whatever. How do you interact with that? Because I know a lot of guys that say, "Well, find someone else to do it because I'm not comfortable doing it, or I don't want to appear or something like that." Do you face that type of challenges, and if so, how do you address them?
Well, that is a daily basis challenge, and I really, from my work, one of the things I like the most, and I know that is one of the most challenging things, is the media training, because picking someone that has all the qualities and all the fears that he has or she has, and make them shine among media, it's not easy. And it has always to do with their soft skills. But the key thing is soft skills can be learned faster than hard skills. And people keep going and keep pushing on that. They keep forgetting that it's faster to learn and change a mindset than an art skill. Because for an art skill, you need to go 4 years to university to learn it. A soft skill, if you really want, and if you have the will to change, you can change it in a week. And media training works a lot with it. And it's fun to have people that is very shy. And at least I do one thing. First of all, and before end of starting the training, I always try to understand and do a little bit of a psychological profile to understand who is the person that is in front of me. For what? To train him or train her on the things that I know that she will have more difficulties in front of a journalist or in front of a public. Because the audience is completely different, and the audience has completely different ways of reacting. And it's interesting that media training, it's also important for founders when they are preparing pitch for a VC. Because if they go to a roundup and they don't know how to talk and how to interact and get the empathy of the people that's in front of them, they can say bye-bye to the money. They will not going to invest on that. One of the things that at least I learned, and I know that people at Canopy Tribe learned, is VCs don't invest on ideas, they invest on people. Because people, if they are good, they will have more than one idea. And probably the one they invested wasn't the right one, but you already are in the flow to show up and to say that the right idea is the other one. Let's invest and push for that one. And honestly, I really like to be on a room where I'm the dumbest. Because when I see people that is more clever than I love. I stay quiet, just almost drooling of getting knowledge of it. And a founder also needs to understand the thing is no one else will be better than him or her to sell the idea, the solution, or the product than themselves. So if you're shy, or if you're an introverted person, you should work on your soft skills, and in those soft skills and all the courses that you can do and all the process to understand yourself. One of the things that you need to do also is media training, because that will help you out on understanding how to address to an audience and how to react to a good audience or not so positive or a defensive audience, because the defensive audience is worse than an aggressive audience. Because if you have an aggressive audience, you know that you're going to suffer the impact immediately. A defensive one, you can't read what they are thinking, and you need to understand it. You need to have the tools. You need to know the tricks that will help you out opening that door and make you shine on a presentation or on a press conference or on an event that is focused. And media training is great for it.
I was listening to Fernando. I was remembering one of the toughest moments I experienced throughout my life was for some years that we interact frequently with someone. And I won't say more than this. It was a lady actually that had little non-facial expression. So you could discern the best thing or the worst thing or the first thing to move. It was terrible because the first time I had the opportunity to have a conversation with a person, I got the conversation like, what happened here? Was it that terrible that she didn't express any emotion?
Yeah.
I thought, well, it didn't go that well. I'm sure it was not a success. Quite soon, like after she called me back, I had another conversation. I was like, wow, it wasn't that bad after all. And then I actually understood her. She had no, it's just her. She has no facial expression. She doesn't express herself a lot using the face.
It's her.
It's her. And it was, and it's terrible because one never knows how is it going. So it's so if it happens to someone listening to us, don't worry, it's not the first time. It's not that original. Now I have another question, and this is a meanwhile. Do you actually know all those journalists? How do you do that? No one knows. Are you paying them to print the things?
Let me divide your question and start from the end. Right. No, I don't pay to journalists, and that is not ethical. Period. Who does that?
On my behalf, let me just say I was being provocative because
I know
I already knew the answer.
I know that. That's why I was saying this. You should never try to, because paying to a journalist to write something is bribe. period. One thing is brand content. And the brand content, when you are approaching a media title and you want brand content, you will be the theme will be worked and will be written by someone that has journalistic and communication skills to write down, but it will be written in a commercial with a commercial focus.
It's advertising.
Yeah.
It's a form of advertising.
Yeah. It's not the
It's journalism. It's advertising. It's a different thing.
That's not journalism. Period. If I have a large list of contacts on media, yes, I have it. That's my goal. If I know all of them, no, I don't know them, all of them. My team knows. Because that's why the PR agencies, and I'm not just talking about mine, but I can speak for the other ones. That's why the PR agencies are specialized in some verticals, and when they are specialized on some verticals, they know all of them. And when I'm saying knowing all of them is knowing their names, knowing their emails, knowing their phone numbers, direct phone numbers on the newsroom, knowing their mobile phones, knowing their children's names, their wife's or husband's names, and knowing the dog's name. Okay, because it's a vertical that, as a group of journalists, it's always the same, and you need to talk with them every day. And it's easy and it's feasible to create a good relationship with them. And with along the time, you create connections and familiar connections or friendly connections with them. Yes. When we are talking about a broader side, of course, we know the key ones, and there are always other ones that we don't talk so many often. But when it's needed, we know how to reach them and to call them or to send them the right email written on the proper way, in ways they accept to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, let's talk."
Okay, so if I well understood, it would be wise for me to pick a PR agency when I find that's needed, that has some expertise on my field, because they most likely will know the specialized journalists in that field, something like that.
Yeah, it's important to do that. Let me put it this way: if you are a IT company, it makes sense to pick up the phone and call Do It On, because our agency, one of our verticals is IT, and we know all of the journalists on that vertical. If you are a startup, it makes sense because we know all the startup journalists also. If you are an healthcare startup, we're going to say, hey, we can work with you on startups, and we need to develop the right media list with the right journalists for you, in your case, for healthcare. Because that is not our area of specialization. So I rather say in the beginning this, but there are other agencies that are good on that market. If you're talking about biotech, I'm good on that, so I can talk about it. But we need always to think in 2 to 3 things when looking or thinking about a PR agency. First of all, if they know or they are specialized in our area, because that helps. If they match with our mission and values, because the specializing or the specialized vision, it's important, but it's not the most relevant of all. It always has to do with the gathering and the matching of mission, vision, and team's empathy. Because if you have that, the possibility of having a good success, it's larger than just going for a specialized company that or specialized agency that will work with you as just another client.
No,
If you don't feel a special, if you don't feel that the agency that is in front of you really wants to work with you or really loves you, you should not keep going on that date. This is the same thing as relationships. You don't date with someone that doesn't like you or don't give you or don't appreciate what you do. You want to date someone that looks at you and say, you're the one. I'm here for you all the time, on any moment, anywhere and everywhere. And this almost seems something very romantic, but it needs to be. Because when you are romantic on this, you know that you will have a team that will go to hell to pick you up and bring you up to heaven.
So, and if you're talking about your passion, it should be around the people that are feel the same passion about your passion.
Sure.
Would be correct to say, accurate to say that from a journalist or media standpoint, PR agencies and PR experts like you are a good source of information and news, since it's their product, the news, they need news, and so you can bring them news. On the other hand, they can reach you out wherever they want to have access, not to your customer because they can have access to your customer, but to, I would say, some not secrets, but first-hand news or qualifying whatever. Did you do that? Did you actually get back to you and say, hey, Fernando, regarding the customer X, we heard that the CEO is about to change, and we'd love to know more about that or something like that. Does that appear?
It happens
just on the movies.
No. The movies, they romanticize a little bit, but that happens often. That happens often that the phone rings and say, hey, we have a huge headline here, and we know this can impact your client, or your client can help us out on making this even huger. Do you think they want to talk about it? Or do you think they will want to comment on it? That happens a lot. Or, hey guys, you know that you're in a big trouble, and this will happen on 2 or 3 days from now on, and we are preparing everything for when the bomb explodes. Do you want to comment in firsthand, or do you want to give us an interview on firsthand? By the moment that it explodes, we can talk about it and show it as an exclusive or a firsthand. A lot of times, or when we have a theme that we know that it's important, and we really want some media title that is really key to talk about it and say, hey, this is exclusive for you. This is a first-hand. No one talked with the client. You will be the one, the only one, the one that he really wants to talk with. You have the choice to option if you want to do it or not. These are tactics that we use it. Of course, it seems almost like a James Bond thing. Yes, it happens. Yes, it happens. It's ethical. Yes, it is. It's not unethical to do it. What is unethical is if you have inside information and you use it for you or for the journalist or the media title to use or to try to change the market route. If you're not changing the path or the route, it's not unethical, okay? And this is something that we could be like for 3-4 hours talking about, because this has a lot of details and a lot of exceptions. But if you do it correctly and on an ethical way, that you know that the impact will be for your brand, but it's an impact that won't change the brand value in terms of stock options for the stakeholders. it won't change the way the market will be seen, or going to raise the market where you're, or the sector where you are. It's something that you use, and you can use it on a daily basis, for sure. How many times?
Okay, so just checking. Evolving my startup, going from the I have an idea stage to seed, then to series or whatever, is not exactly, are not exactly landmarks that should make me change my PR partner. Actually, if I understand, it's quite the opposite, right? I should stick with, if I'm happy, of course, but I should stick with the guys I know and know my business and know from scratch, and I think the path to me. How do you comment on this?
It's like it's like a marriage. If you are unhappy on your marriage, unfortunately, and you can't change it, and there's no way of changing it, sometimes divorce is better. So only because you took or you choose an agency on your ideation stage just to check and to help you out on the MVP, it doesn't mean that you need to go with it until the seed stage. No. Sometimes it's better to not only have one, but have 2 or 3 agencies that are focused on specific areas. Because when you're on the seed stage, you need to have a financial communication agency to work with you that will help you out on preparing the seeding tours that you need to do it. And you're not doing the seeding tour in Lisbon. You're going to do a seeding tour in London, Berlin, New York, San Francisco. You go to Asia, and you're going to do a tour, a worldwide tour. So you need to have people that can help you out on that. It's not the local PR agency that you met when you were trying to start. It's almost like the brand. I always say this when I'm with founders, startup founders, is forget your name. Forget the name of the startup, because in the early stage, it can be X, but in a few stages ahead, one of the investors is going to say, this is interesting, but it's not scalable for the markets we want you to be in. So you need to change your name. What you do? Keep the name, or are you going to change the name? So don't stuck with the name. Don't get stuck with a supplier, any kind of supplier. Try to find out suppliers that can be partners. Try to find out the suppliers, as you said before, that have the same passion and can look at what is needed, and will have the passion and can transmit the passion that you have it also. And if you have a PR agency that can do that when you are just a tiny, small company that has just one guy, and if it remains with the same passion and is eager for your success on every single moment and on every single day, probably you're going to get on the seed stage and the agency remains with you. And you know why? Because the agency also grow not only on HR for you, but also with the experience that got from your startup. The agency could bring and could use it also for other companies and made them also grow. So it's a thing of, you have always the option to say no and to change it, but before change it, see if it makes sense to change it. If it fits, use it. If it doesn't fit, swap it.
All right. So, Fernando, this is the problem I have with this episode. It's run out.
It starts taking long.
The hour ends. So, for 1 minute only, because as you know, we're very British around here, so we're fixed to our schedules. 2 tips for someone who is considering promoting his or her startup using PR? Two very simple tips, please.
Okay, those are very easy. Doesn't have nothing to do with PR, honestly. Is know your why and know your vision. Because if you have these two ones, you're going to create the mission, and it will be easier to talk and to create your story. And PR is based on storytelling.
All right. Thank you so much, Fernando, for taking your time to come here and help us in our community. For those at home, let's call this way. I hope you enjoyed. For me, it was once again a pleasure to have interesting conversations with such smart people like Fernando. Hope we gave you, in some way, some help and some support developing your businesses. And we're going to meet again next month with another incredible guest like Fernando, and talking about a different subject. Have a great month, and see you next month. Fernando, once again, thank you so much for taking your time.
It was a pleasure to be with the tribe, as you know. I love this tribe, and I always like to be with you. You know that.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.